Welcome to this course on project schedule management, wherein we'll talk about the various aspects involved in project creation of a project schedule and management of the same, various methods, various aspects which we need to consider. Agenda for the course would be as follows. Need for project schedule management. We'll discuss what is the need for project schedule management, what are the various aspects which goes around it, what would happen if we don't do the same. Then we talk about the kind of a correlation between effort, schedule and cost management. As we will see, they all are kind of correlated, and considering one in isolation will not be so effective in project management. Then we talk about work breakdown structure, WBS. We'll see what is WBS, decomposition, how we create a WBS structure, various examples in WBS, elements of WBS, and then depending on the types of the work packages, how they are categorized in WBS, we'll have different types of WBS. Then we talk about network diagrams. We see where how the various activities or the work packages are kind of correlated in a network diagram, and depending on the conventions and the models followed, there are two types of network diagramming method. One is the arrow diagramming method, ADM, and second would be your precedence diagramming method, which is also known as PDM. We will also talk about the dependencies and relationship between the various activities on the network diagram. They are relevant because they help us drawing the entire schedule or a effective optimum schedule. It is not always that all the activities will be in sequential, some will be in parallel. So what goes into it, drawing, what is the relationship, what are the dependencies, we'll see those. Then we also talk about critical path method. In any project there will be one path which is known as the critical path, in which if any of the activities slip, the project will get scheduled, project will get delayed. So we look at the various aspects involved in critical path management, how we manage it, how we measure it. Then we have the critical chain method. So depending on a weak element in the whole kind of chain, the project could get delayed or get impacted. So what are the factors to consider under this? So we look at those. Then resource leveling, whether a particular task or particular resource is been overloaded, I mean basically allocated more than 100% of his work time. So if somebody is supposed to work for 8 hours, at planning purposes, planning types time itself, we see the person is been allocated 200%, or maybe 16 hours, 14 hours. In reality, it is possible that a lot of people have to work to keep in the deadlines, slippages, unknown issues, but at a planning level this is incorrect. If a resource is available for 8 hours, we need to plan for 8 hours. So how do we do the resource leveling? How do we ensure that most of the resources are either 100% or less than that, and so thereby creating an optimum project schedule? What if scenario analysis. So depending on what would happen if some factors involved, what is the scenario which will come out. So what if the dependencies or these activities get delayed, what is the impact on the project? What if this resources is a costlier one, what is the impact on the cost? So various scenario kind of analysis we look at it. Then we talked about critical path method, right? So the project could get delayed if any of the activities on the project path gets delayed. So we look at ways to compress the schedule. Okay, these are not normal ones, in the sense in the normal path we shouldn't be following this, but say for some whatever reason we need to do a course correction, and now we need to compress the schedule. So fast tracking and crashing are the two methods being employed to compress the overall project schedule so that we meet a particular deadline line. And we will see when we look at this that the cost of fast tracking and crashing, that is the schedule compression techniques, are costlier than the same would be under a normal project cycle. Then we look at how we determine the project schedule. So considering the various factors, activities, dependencies, sequencing, etc., we come and determine the actual project schedule for a project. We also look at what is the Gantt chart, what is the milestone charts, what is the project schedule network diagrams, how they are relevant, what is the significance. We look at what is schedule baseline, cost budget baseline, and then we look at schedule management using Microsoft project. So we'll do certain elements, how to create schedules, etc. in Microsoft project. Examples of various aspects of schedule management using Microsoft project. Microsoft Project and Primavera, Oracle Primavera are the two most commonly used project management software. For our course, we will be using Microsoft Project to signify some of the concepts which we learn on project schedule management. Then we look at some examples of Microsoft project plans to give a feel of actually how a schedule plan or a project plan using Microsoft project is created in the real projects. So just to give a glimpse how the mapping is done, how the resources are allocated, how it is being tracked, how the Gantt charts are pulled. So we'll look at those, and then some good practices, or I would say recommended practices for doing a proper schedule management. So first, as we know, like the project would be considered successful only when agreed functionalities are delivered on time at an agreed cost and with the required quality. So no matter what one would say, we delivered on a time, but say it was not done as per the agreed cost, either the vendor took a hit or the client took a hit, or it was not as per the required quality parameter. So then the project is not considered successful. Project will be considered successful only when your agreed functionalities are delivered on time at agreed cost and with the required quality. The good estimation and planning is the key to any project success, and therefore requires effective project planning, execution, monitoring and control. So just execution is not enough. You need to do a proper estimation, you need to do a proper planning, and then use those as a reference for project execution. Monitor continuously the project's various elements in the project and control of that, basically course correction when a particular task or activities or something goes off track. We need to do a course correction by continuous monitoring and then doing an effective control on the same. One of the major causes of project failure can be attributed to lack of project planning and estimation of with the various resources involved, the schedule, which is the timelines actually, and the cost. Okay, so keeping this all in mind, we need to develop an optimum as well as a kind of a realistic project schedule. So just for the sake of meeting your client's requirements or cost pressures, if you end up creating a project schedule which would look very nice on theory and on paper but would not be realistic, then that's not a good thing to go, because eventually sooner or later some issues will come up, and then both parties have to sit together and kind of do a kind of a mutual understanding. So we need to create a optimum as well as realistic project schedule. Now there is a concept called a triple constraint. So basically what it says is, it's called triple constraints of scope, schedule and resources. Now we cannot consider any of these elements in isolation. So neither we can consider the scope, schedule or only the resources. So what this means is, the scope represents your requirements. So we cannot be accommodating the client on the requirements that he keeps changing requirements over and above the agreed requirements, okay, at the start of the project or at the proposal stage. Or we cannot keep changing the schedule as and when the client wants it, and keep elongating or contracting, most cases postponing, okay, to accommodate some certain new scopes, etc. Or resources, we cannot put infinite resources, because as you will know, whether the resources are people or whether they are hardware, project software, they all have a cost, and there is a cost for a particular period. So like employees would have to be paid salary monthly, computers have a lifetime, servers, if you buy it, there is a lifetime, there is a warranty period, there is a maintenance cost. Or if you go in for kind of a shared server on a shared data center, then you need to do a monthly cost, types of operating system, the types of software, etc. Each of them has a monthly cost. Okay, so cost is also not unlimited. So what we are trying to say here is, we need to keep a track of the scope, schedule and resources together. So it's not like only the project schedule can be considered in isolation. We cannot do that. Similarly, other aspects also, but since we are talking about project schedule management, we do the focus on project schedule. So the point to remember is that changes of anything affects the other two. So it's a kind of a balance of all the three parameters: scope, schedule, and resources. And there is certain another element which some people also talk about, but I have not included here, which is the quality. So what they say is quality at the is at the center, and although it's a triple constraint on scope, schedule, and resources, quality is also an important consideration, which is true. Okay, but we are talking about kind of the cost and timelines and requirements, right?